We look at the contemporary issues, and we look at the contemporary issues in the HRM, and we've been coming this far. We've been coming this far, you know, and we need to understand that this issue has been an issue that needs to be really expressed, you know, expressed in a way that we be able to enjoy the intent in it. So it's been a very good and interesting topic, really, and I know most of us are going to gain from some of these things that we have been talking about. So we're looking at the contemporary issues. We'll look at the what's happening now, you know. So we want to start. So we are looking at the issues, and I think we should very much, you know, encourage some of our organizations so that they can always give the best to their workers, and making sure that those workers are not just workers, but they are workers that are giving good reputations and giving the time and skill to enjoy the job that they are also doing. And also, I also believe that, you know, there are so many issues that need to be trashed when it comes to issue of the contemporary issues. There are so many issues that need to be trashed, and I hope that you have gained some things from all these things that we have been doing so far, and also not just gaining some things. I believe that we also put some of these things into work in a way that we also favor the organizations that we are working with, and not only the organization that we are working with, we are also looking at the issue at hand. How do the organization overlook these issues? How do we make sure that these issues does not really bring a problem to us, you know? So we also need that to look at. But my advice to the management really is that the management should take precaution to give training. There should be well training, good training to so that the people who are working with the organizations can also work very well and can do something better with the organization. And not only that, that there should be training, adequate training for the workers. You know, those who are working in the organization, there should be an adequate training for them, training in the way that they would have a good time, and not only good time, a time of refreshment, and also a time to really enjoy a good works procedure. And also, apart from that, also we are also looking at the ability of the succession period of the people around us. So let's look at the yesterday where we stopped. I'm only just recapping what we have been doing, talk about retention of the staff, how do we retain the staff, and also how do we manage so that there will not be no rigidity in the step that we are taking in the management. These are all part of the things that we are doing. We also talk about conducive work atmosphere. If the work atmosphere is very conducive, I think a lot of people really want to work for an organization like that. My advice really to many young people around that are working in the organizations, my main advice to them mostly is that they should not be too comfortable in the workplace. When they are too comfortable, it can also bring problem to them. They should not be too comfortable with wherever they are. Now, today we are also looking at some other areas of the HRMs, you know, and how we are going to deal with them. today. And those areas that we are looking at today, the global, we are looking at the, sorry, let me just do look at effects of globalization on human resources. Effects of globalization on human resources. When the greatest resources available to any company is the workforce, it acquires and retain the people. As a company also extends its basis, to a foreign company, then some things must be put into place to avoid problem. And also look at the corporate and the cultural differences. Yesterday, I explained this to us, the corporate and the cultural differences. That when you get to an organization, most especially the globalized area, you meet with the people, different people with different laws, with different interchange of things. Then we also look at the employment and tax laws. They have to be taught about how to work with the tax law, and so that it can be very favorable to them. Then we also look at the long distance communication challenges, that somebody who's been working, if you are working very close, you are able to really check the person. Maybe you are passing by and you are checking how the person is doing. Then we look at the global economic and human resources. The global economy, the global has had profound effects on human resources management, international assignments, outsourcing, coping with legal and cultural differences, and managing talent from foreign countries. All those challenges as globalization continues to shrink the world. The small business are affected by the development as much as any multinationals, since multinationals, any business is also only as good as the employees. Then we also look at the needs, anticipating future needs. What are the future needs? The time is coming where there's going to be a great need, where we have to anticipate what the future needs are. And what are the future needs? We need human resource manager that's well positioned and has understanding of how to pick potentials and use the potentials. And also we have the natural talents. We have the natural talents. These are inbuilt talents, that in a never-ending quest to stay competitive, small business must embrace technology as well as the employee who understand it. The small business must explore new ways to train employees, looking at training as an investment rather than expenses. And the more skillful an organization is, the people is, the better for the organization. Then we also look at the overseas assignment. On that, on the surface, it sounds exotic. An extended assignment in a foreign country with the opportunity to work with an international division of the company, but all is not necessarily as smooth as to say. Integrating knowledge and corporate practice with international workers can be a difficult task. When you employ and retain, you employ people, there must be a way of retaining the employees. Then returning overseas assignment. Now, some people might even go on overseas assignment and decide not to come back again, and that's another scenario exactly. Then we also look at outsourcing in the global market. Outsourcing is an increasing common way for a small or medium-sized enterprise to leverage its human resource and requirements in the global market. The pool of contract workers is deep with talent and include freelancers and virtually very few, from virtual assignment assistants to highly technical professionals. If you choose to outsource your work, plan carefully. Some sites provide safeguards to protect all parties, but there are no guarantee. The lower bidder on your project may lack the skill you needed for the job. Then we look at the influence of globalization, and when we talk about intuition and development on managers' role. When manager thinks about what influence their roles, they think in concrete work, routines, work productivity, chains of command, products and services. Even in the smallest business, however, issues like globalization, intuitions, and the diversification greatly influence managers' role. This concept influences how managers think, make decisions, and even view the future of the business. Taking the time to consider how each concept influences their management can help managers lead more competitive and modern business. Then we look at the globalization. We've talked so much about globalization. I would say modern technologies such as internet, high speed or air traveling, and cellular communication has made doing business across borders each. In fact, Harvard Business School Professor Christopher Bartlett notes the more business are more born globally, and expanding business to foreign markets is no longer only an option for large first world companies. Instead, small businesses from small countries are now reaching out to large marketing to sustain themselves. So globalization has come, and has come to say, in those days we talk about the universals, but today we talk about globalization. Then under that, we look at intuition. Managers need data to make good decisions. Without data on issues like sales and work productivity, managers would not know whether the companies were performing poorly or admirably, or whether they should hire or fire. The manager should think fast, and most especially when there's no good income, money coming in, the cash inflow is not really matching with the cash outflow. Then it's an intuition of the manager, easier to lay some off or to bring more people in. Then we look at diversity. Companies can benefit from diverse workplace and customer base. When they have employed from diverse backgrounds, companies have wider respect. They can better assess how their products or actions will have influence effect on different people. Finally, similarly, a diverse customer base fosters innovation as companies are pushed to consistent develop products or services that meet different needs. However, diversity in the workplace can also cause challenges for managers who must mitigate this disagreement caused by cultural misunderstanding and also intolerant attitude. Managers can also harness diversity productive power and downplay its challenge, and by first acknowledging it. They should also implement diversity training and open conversation about diversity in the workplace so employees can discuss misunderstanding in a safe, productive environment. Then further, managers should ensure employees that diversity is valued in the workplace by frequently asking employees from different cultural backgrounds to give input on company's decisions. So when we talk about most of the things about diversification is, moving from one product or from one staff that we are doing, or making a staff to live where he's been working, moving to another place, and so that he can have the feel of what the job is. We also have the reflections. Reflection. It is easy for managers to get caught up in the day-to-day responsibility of the management, their businesses, and discover the influence of globalization, intuition, and diversity on their roles. Managers who take the time to step back and reflect on each of their concepts in the concept of their position, however, will likely be surprised to see how much of an influence each had. So reflection on the influence of each of these issues of managers will help. And when we talk about reflection, is going back, to the basics, where you are coming from, to look at if you have made any progress or you have not really made any progress. So all these are part of the reflections that we talk about. Then we also look at the importance of diversity in the workplace in employee. So a workforce demographic shift and global markets emerge, and workplace also diversity is closer to becoming a business necessary state of a manner that companies wish to show their commitment to embrace difference and change. Employee reap tangible and intangible benefits from workplace benefits, not the least of which include respect from co-workers and business gain. Then under that, we are looking at the mutual respect among the employees. Every workplace diversity fosters mutual respect amongst employees, where employees work in a group or team also comprises of co-workers with varied work style, disabilities, or who represent different cultures or generation, and this is a synergistic work environment becomes the norms. Although, and ideally, also atmosphere may be also difficult to achieve, employees nevertheless recognize the many strengths and talents that diversity brings to the workplace, and they gain respect for their colleagues' performance, respecting giving customers regard concerning their lives and working together in unity. Then we also look at the economic empowerment of marginalized workers. Many members of the world have been marginalized due to racism, ageism, and discrimination against people with the disabilities. When we talk about racism, we talk about people from different culture mixing with other culture, and we are sidetracking them because they are not part of our culture, and sometimes it brings nepotism into the people. So it is a discriminative. Sometimes even a lot of people don't want to employ disabled people in their jobs. They don't want them. They believe that they are not there. There are also the ages, the people who are already aged. In some companies, once you are over 35, you don't have a space in that company, except you have the very deep experience that they need. All these are economic empowerment of marginalization of the workers. Then we also look at the conflict reduction and resolution. How do we, how conflict inevitably occurs in the work environment. However, employees who are acknowledging others' difference often also find similarities, particularly when there are common goals such as productions and quality. Respect for co-workers either reduce the likelihood of conflict or facilitate an easy road to conflict resolution. And the ability to resolve workplace conflicts minimizes the potential liabilities for employees compliance that would otherwise escalate to formal matters such as litigation, workplace diversity concern, preserve the quality of employment. And it's not a thing, conflict does just not come up just like that. Conflict comes up, there are some communication or information that comes into an organization that makes conflict to be inevitable. They come in, but when they come in, there are companies that have policies. Really, there are companies that have policies on how to settle conflicts. They have policies how to settle conflicts among the business. Then also we look at the business reputation enhancement, how the business, and we need to know that every business, the business is greater than anybody who works in the organization, and we must look at the business enhancement. Then we are looking at the 10 of the biggest HR challenges. I want us to look at the challenges, 10 greatest challenges that we might have in some of the organizations that we have. The HR number one is rethink the employee value proposition. Work has let me come again, rethinking the employee value proposition. Work has fundamentally changed because of the pandemic and large social issues. And so have people expectations of the employee experience. They still want competitive pay, strong benefit pay packages, and training and development, but that is not enough. Employees increases expel a holistic value proposition that encompasses career growth, skill development, including belonging, fairness, true authenticity, for purpose, a supportive and wellness. All these things are part of what makes an organization great. I do tell people that, you see, any organization that your growth, you are not growing, most especially the young ones, any organization you are not growing, you are not seeing any growth, career growth, skill development, and also fairness and true authentic and other. That's not an organization to stay. One of the advice I give to my children always is that I tell them they must not be too comfortable in any organization. But most of the organizations, they are just used and done, And some of these things, if they are things I've known before time, at least I would have made a lot of good plans for myself. So we look at a sense of belonging is highly on the list of employment exodus. So more than half, 54% of respondents to recent Randstad survey said they leave a job if they didn't like they belong. Then 42% would reject a job offer if the employee's value didn't align with theirs. Then employees are looking for a public commitment to doing the right thing. With the 77% prioritized company that have committed to sustainability, diversity, and transparency. So what I'm trying to say is that if you are working in a place and you have no progress and you are stagnant for some time, at least you should move forward. Then we look at the engaging the workforce. For decades, employee engagement has been a concern for HRM profession. Engagement metrics were trending upward in the early part of the pandemic, driven by increase in transparency and communication. But those gains have descended as employees and employers differ on when, where, and how people should work. And Gallup research shows that employee engagement continues to decline from 36% in 2020 to 34% in 2021 and also 32% in 2022. Meanwhile, the ratio of engagement to actively disengaged employment is flattening, dropping from 2.6 in 2020 to 1.8 ratio 1 in 2021, 2022. Then we look at attracting talents to enterprise. How do we attract talent to our workplace and to our talent? Talent acquisition remains one of the highest priority that HRM challenges in 2023, with nearly half, 47% of response in their HR executive pool ranking higher and retention as the top challenges. In US, employment is at historical low, and many organizations struggle to fill open roles in their time. Fashion hiring and retention could be more difficult in 2023 than last year, while the US economy added 4.5 million jobs just in 2022, according to the US Chamber of Commerce. The workforce has shared nearly 3 million net participating because of the pandemics and also the resignation. Some people are sitting out because they have high level of savings, while early retirement and the lack of child care also sideline many other people. Then we also look at the flexibility work and arrangement remain a key attraction for talent. But taking the loan, many not be substantive enough because flexibility is considered table stakes in some industry. When combining with their cultural elements, it sets of fairness, autonomy, a supportive teaching team in a highly environment. Then we also have the diversity, the learning focus, and the vision that inspire prospective also employees. Then companies will be a prime position to also attract and retain the best talent. Then we also look at strengthening manager-employee relationship. This is a very great one. In some organizations, there's no synergy. The boss makes just anything that the boss does not say does not work in that organization. I used to know a boss in those days. that says if you're not in the organization, that nothing works. And that's not true. That's not true. I always have that in my mind that if the boss leaves and gives it to the right person, that person is going to manage the organization very well. So fostering relationship between managers and employees was a big focus in 2022 and remains to this year for HRM. This relationship power the workplace, and with a hybrid and smooth and remote work, the manager's role has changed with a greater emphasis on relationship. Yet, most managers lack a frame of reference for what that should look like. A few managers and employees start their career in hybrid and remote work environment, and many first-time managers enter their role without adequate training, leading to lower satisfaction among the direct reports. Managers continue to struggle with hybrid and remote work. They need new skills along with international support, training, and tools for HRT. But according to research from the Red Thread Research Managers in 2022, receive less clarity around expectation and few data-based insights into a team performance. Many managers were left to figure things out by themselves. In 2023, HR must also must alleviate the pressures on managers. They must support and strengthen managers' ability to push employee for growth and also advance. And also, you need to understand that sometimes there are a lot of political cliques against the managers in the workplace, and sometimes it's not performing because it's not working. And not only that, we also see a lot of organizations that the CEO or CFO is not releasing enough funds to make things work for those organizations. Then we also move on to the next one, which is we look at also the promoting talent, mobility, and skills. Promoting talent, mobility, and skill. And we know that in 2022 we saw employees quitting, quietly quitting, and employee quitting, employers quiet firing. In 2023, HR leaders are engaging in quiet hiring, which describe a need-based approach to filling skill gaps through a combination of talent, mobility, and also skill building. HRM teams are adding skills and ability to the organization without increasing headcount. But for quiet hiring to be successful, employees need to retain control over the growth and development. Pressure on unemployment to take a role they aren't interested in, even their great fit, can backfire and lead to their exit. Present opening as opportunity for employees to expand their knowledge and skill so they can make informed career choices. So managers are instrumental in this process and should not sideline simply because employee enables business leaders to direct to employee with the other offer. Then we also look at the retaining talent with a better employment experience. There are some people we can't just let go of the organization. But when you work with a boss or a director who is not concerned, he believes that soldier goes, soldier comes. If you leave, somebody better will be coming. And in this type of occasion, we have been having issues about what we do. And higher remains concerned about employee turnover. Nearly 3/4, 72% of HR professionals in a recent HR executive survey said they were somewhat or extremely concerned about losing talent this year. A better job, a better incentives or salaries and bonuses, and somebody is ready to move to another job. If not, so every company must look at how to retain their workers, make their workers effective. So there are plethora of employment retention strategy out there, but except HR to focus on improving the employee experience in 2022. And there are some of those things that make a worker to like, no, I want to leave. Number one is, you know, when you promote somebody that does not have experience like them and or qualification like them, or they are in the same qualification, and just enter an organization and is being promoted ahead of you or being paid. Then the second one is flexibility. When the job is not flexible enough, you know, for a worker. The new breed we have now, they are hybrids, and they are not just hybrid. They are people who also treasure their independence. They don't want to depend on any people, so they treasure them. In fact, 75% of employees expect more options for flexible work, not fewer, according to recent Gartner research. Learning into the flexibility works in your favor. Then, so the jobs must be flexible, you know, to workers. Nobody want to work anyhow. And also look at the programs. What are the programs that are there? There are plenty of studies that shows the value of diverse team. The Peterson Institute for International Economics found that having women at the C-suite level signify increased net margin, and McKinsey report that companies with gender diverse executive team outperformed peers on average by over 20% of that.